Backyard Baseball was one of my favorite games growing up, and undoubtedly contributed to my love for baseball and cartoons, but underneath the surface of this seemingly simple game is a whole world of hidden stats, lore, and secrets. So today I'm gonna tell you all I know about this series. Like, did you know the Weber twins actually get a power-up when playing together? Yeah, you might have figured. After all, their player cards explicitly say they play better on the same team, but it never really shows you. It almost feels like a playground rumor to me. The most playground rumor stat change I know is from Marky Dubois and his hatred for socks. To quote his card, the only time Marky wears shoes is to school and church. In Backyard Baseball 2001, they even make his hatred of socks a little more clear with the last line of his card stating, "He doesn't like socks though. Remember that." This might sound like a gag or some ominous message, but I just so happen to be part of an online group that plays Backyard Baseball, and on this spreadsheet that was beautifully crafted, we can see Marky plays worse if you choose the Red Sox or the White Sox. So growing up as a Red Sox fan, the reason why I probably thought Marky was bad was because I picked the Red Sox, which is really funny. Not only does Marky play worse on the Sox, but he hates these articles of clothing so much he actually gets a buff if playing against them. That's right, if you choose the Sox in Backyard Baseball, be prepared to face the wrath of Marky Dubois. Now Marky not only gets a buff when playing against the Sox teams, but his stats also improve when playing on the same team as his crush, Billie Jean Blackwood. Billie, aka the beauty queen of the bayou, is actually a pretty interesting character, with several lines referring to her desire to be a model and move to Paris when she's older. So it makes sense Billie would play worse with the kinda simple kid with a gross frog crushing on her while she plays. While the game only has 4 visible stats, that being batting, running, pitching, and fielding, Billie's player card actually suggests fielding her at first base because of her height. So let's talk more about the hidden stats. Power, contact, and speed are pretty self-explanatory, but it's pretty interesting to see that a character's arm strength needs to be at least 65 to throw from one base to another, assuming they haven't lost stamina, aka how quickly a character gets tired out. One of the most interesting stats is eye, or vision, which affects both batting and fielding and refers to how big this gray circle is when you bat or when you try to catch a ball. The more experienced you are with the game, the less important a stat like eye is, since you can kinda gauge for yourself where to go, but still it's really helpful to have good eyes in the outfield. Players like Vicky Kawaguchi or Mr. Clanky. His icon has always creeped me out, I don't know why. Some of these kids like Luann Louis have such low accuracy in eye, like someone needs to give her some glasses. Funnily enough, the kids who wear glasses don't necessarily have much correlation to their eye stat. Lisa Crockett, aka Mad Dog, has good vision among her well-rounded stats, but Dimitri has pretty low eye, and Jorge has a 1 out of 100. Like, how are you gonna wear glasses bigger than your head if you can't even see? Height ranges from 1 to 5, so a character like Billie having 5 height is really useful for catching the ball or playing first base. Kids who are too short will actually get hit in the face because their arms are too short or the ball can go over their head, so I love that the game hints at these unseen stats through the player cards, because Billie is in fact a really good first baseman, but not too great otherwise. Amir Khan plays better when he's on the same team as his rocking brother Ahmed, which is sweet. I love their nicknames, Styx and Axeman. Like, that's a great rock band name, maybe even superheroes. But not all siblings are as sweet as the Khans or the Webers. 2 fan favorites, Tony and Angela Del Vecchio, have maybe a friendly rivalry, as their stats are highly buffed when playing against each other. Tony's card even says he steps it up a notch when playing against Angela. Tony's one of my favorite characters, and I love the lollipop in lieu of a cigarette for a slick guy like him. And I'll always have respect for the Del Vecchio's ability to keep their hats on their heads. Like, Angela's hat looks like it'd fall off if she breathed the wrong way. The bossy team mom, Sally Dobbs, does indeed get a buff when playing with her little brother Ronnie. But Ronnie, aka Spud, plays much worse with his sister Sally. His stats are so low when playing with his sister, he's actually considered one of the worst characters in the game.
Don't listen to what my sister Sally says. I'm old enough to play. Just wait till I get older.
Ronnie falls into a pretty interesting category of players that are more of a mid-tier that require a lot of skill but have a lot of reward. Ronnie's got a lot of power and arm strength but low contact and vision, and is tied for the shortest character in the game at 1 height. I'd like to think his stats line up well narratively, as a little kid with a surprising amount of power when used properly. He tries to prove himself on the field without being belittled by his bossy older sister. According to this backyard baseball bible, as I call it, the worst character you can pick is Ronnie with the nerfs from his sister, but barring these nerfs, Gretchen Hasselhoff, aka Jabberjaw, would be considered the worst character, thanks in part to having the absolute weakest arm strength at 1. Like, can someone get her a glass of milk or something? Now, some of the fields actually give buffs too. Starting with Ekman Acres, Kimmy's actually pretty good when playing in her own backyard. I've always really liked this field, especially the little inflatable pool and swing set. Backyard Baseball came out in October of 1997, and roughly half a year later, the Arizona Diamondbacks started their first season, which just so happened to feature the iconic pool suite. I don't know if this pool is a reference to the Diamondbacks stadium, I highly doubt it, but it is a funny coincidence. There's also a pool in left field at Steele Stadium, where Ernie Steele gets a significant buff from. Buff or no buff though, I'll never understand how to hit the ball with Ernie Steele, as much as I love him. This is probably my favorite backyard field. I love the dimensions of this short center field and long corners, and nothing's more satisfying than hitting a home run into the drink.
It is back, way back, out of the ballpark, a home run!
Having a slightly taller right field wall because there's a truck parked by the fence is also a creative, funny touch, incorporating the classic mantra of backyard baseball, aka settling for the surrounding elements because you just want to play some dang baseball. Playground Commons just looks great. I would have loved playing here as a kid. They kind of have a reverse Fenway Park going on with this really tall right field fence, and I like how they justify having a randomly really tall wall in the neighborhood by actually making it a fence to block the street from baseballs. Sandy Flats is generally everyone's least favorite stadium, but it's a great concept and looks really cool. The ball doesn't travel as far here, which is pretty unforgiving for weak hitters and slow runners, since they can still get thrown out on what would keep rolling as a hit on other fields. Conversely, there's a couple fast rolling fields like Tin Can Alley, where the ball bounces really fast off of the pavement and the truck, so things can get pretty chaotic. I vividly remember just running up dozens, if not hundreds of runs on the computer here, and there's something oddly liminal about this space. Maybe I'm using the word liminal wrong, but I don't know. Cement Gardens is probably my second favorite stadium. I love that it's a big field, but the ball also moves fast here. It really balances out the chaos and fun of it all. There's an open dumpster in center field. If you hit the ball in just right, it'll be a home run, but I think the funniest part of this is that left field is just open. I feel like anyone who played baseball or kickball growing up remembers playing somewhere that just had crazy dimensions like this. Like, left field just goes on forever, but the game's code can be a little janky with the left field being a home run. At times it probably shouldn't.
Angela fields it, gets the force out of 1. Nope! Pablo drops it! He fumbles the bag! That's 1 RBI! It's 2! It's 2!
You guys are really good.
In frustration, and he throws it for a home run! Oh my gosh!
The bases on this field are particularly creative too. We got a pizza box for home plate, a sweater for third, a random vent on the ground as second, and first base is actually a trash can lid, which looks like you could just easily roll your ankle on. Last but not least, Dirt Yards is pretty cool, kind of a basic stadium, which is refreshingly simple. There's a car parked in the back unloading some plants, possibly suggesting these will be planted at the Dirt Yards. I don't have too much to say about the teams throughout backyard baseball, but my favorite was always the Wombats. I never really understood the logo. It made a wombat look more like a floating head or a bat. You know, the animal, not the wooden thing they swing with. The humongous melon heads are easily the most iconic logo, and it's just a classic, funny, kind of badass design. I really appreciate the cartooniness of these logos, and I low-key wish sports teams would actually adopt more cartoony animal mascots like this, as opposed to more sleek graphic designs. Like, I'll even settle for the crazy fishes. So I decided to start a team with some of the most prominent characters I could think of, but I also wanted to showcase some of these buffs and nerfs in action. Backyard Baseball 2001 actually introduced a handful of professional players, which was really cool. But the amount of controversial players in this mix is really funny. Like, off the bat, you got Barry Bonds, who has the most home runs ever hit in Major League history, but Bonds is rarely ever discussed without mentioning his use of steroids. The history of steroids in Major League Baseball is really complicated, way too complicated for a video on Backyard Baseball, but I think the funniest thing about the game is the inclusion of Jose Canseco, another steroid-using home run masher who actually released a book called Juiced a few years after the game came out, in which he exposes the dark underbelly of steroid use in the MLB, not only claiming 85% of the major leagues uses steroids, but that he actually injected some teammates himself that so happened to be in the game, like Jason Giambi and Mark McGwire. Though Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn, who also happens to be in this game, estimates the amount of players using steroids in the MLB in the late 90s was probably closer to 20%. The controversies go beyond steroids, such as Carlos Beltran, considered one of the leaders of the Houston Astros sign-stealing scandal, which is likely the reason he's not in the Hall of Fame. Curt Schilling has a long list of controversies, including a state-funded loan for a game studio that didn't properly pay its loans or employees. According to Mark McGwire's card, he's the best hitter since Pablo's older brother, Manuel "Babe" Sanchez, which is really funny to just casually drop lore that the GOAT of Backyard Baseball has a brother who's even more of a GOAT. Like, if he ever gets into a backyard game, just fill out his stats in all the categories. So I decided our home field should be Steele Stadium, with Ernie Steele captaining, of course. But to make things more interesting, we're gonna be the Red Sox, with Marky Dubois. But it's okay, cause Billie Jean Blackwood's there too. Now, of course, we gotta grab Pablo Sanchez, but another fan favorite y'all mentioned was Pete Wheeler, so I had to make him the leadoff hitter like my friend Nick suggests here. Now, my favorite Backyard Baseball character is Keisha Phillips. I've always liked to have a big power hitter like this, and I just think I can time my swing better with her for some reason. But character-wise, I think she's a really funny, cheery character I would have loved to have been friends with growing up. Whenever I'd play this game, my mom would always tell me to pick Kenny Kawaguchi. Maybe she felt bad like he wouldn't get picked often cause he's in a wheelchair, but I don't think she knew Kenny's actually a great pitcher with good stamina, so he's always been a staple of Backyard Baseball. You know, now that I think about it, does he have good stamina cause he gets to sit down? Like, I think this would be really outweighed by the amount of core required to pitch a baseball sitting down, but I guess technically this would require amazing stamina. Now, I had to sacrifice Ronnie Dobbs in order to get a powered up Sally for this team, but I have faith in the little guy still. So the season starts against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays before they became just the Rays, but make no mistake, this is a team of little devils, because the first batter of the game, Star Moonbeam, actually bunts on the first pitch against the kid in a wheelchair. I do gotta admit, Star Moonbeam is my favorite name of all the generic Backyard Baseball kids that I guess live in the next town over or something. To make matters worse, the second batter, Jack Joseph, rips a line drive to left field that not only concusses Pete, but Pablo runs into Sally, allowing Star to score. Kenny's able to get out of the inning with a healthy mix of left and right hooks, and I really love the icon for these pitches. Like, a baseball punching the bat with hooks is really funny. Though on the batting side, I'm a little hesitant to hit a line drive, like I'd literally burn a hole through some poor kid's hand. As you may know, the commentators Sunny Day and Vinny the Gooch talk a lot during the games, but all the kids talk. Like, a lot.
Want for a batter to get anything off of. 0-2. Ready now, and the offering. And another batter goes down.
Way to go, kid. That's showing them who's boss.
I'm good.
Some of their statements actually go kinda hard though, like listen to this.
1-1. The right. And he had banned the batter.
Follow the hostess. Your table is waiting.
Strike. strikeout.
Now, my offense was pretty anemic throughout this game. We have Marky all confused with these buffs and nerfs, bat flipping on foul outs, but I've never seen someone bat flip a strikeout. He is kinda smooth with it though. The batting was getting so bad, they decided to style on Kenny again. Like, what is it with this ableist Devil Rays team? Surprisingly, my first hit of the game was with the nerfed Ronnie Dobbs, which tells you this is either gonna be an amazing or terrible day. Poor Ronnie's so demotivated that when Pete gets a clean hit to left field right after, they easily throw Ronnie out at second. You'd think Sally would hit well. I mean, I did sacrifice Ronnie's soul to make her a good player, but she still gets out here. I don't know, maybe I'd hit the ball better if I didn't have to hear the souls of the damned while trying to bat.
Swing, batter. She kicked, rolled it.
The batter's gotta pull the trigger on those.
So we're really struggling the later the game gets, and I'm more and more nervous I'm gonna have to include a loss in this video. They almost hit a home run off the extremely short center field fence in the 4th inning, but Ronnie fortunately scoops this up and throws the runner out at second, keeping their lead to only 1 run. The second time Star Moonbeam comes up to bat, we gotta teach her a lesson that we didn't appreciate her bunt, so Kenny throws a heater at her.
Become center. Here's the pitch. Here's ball 1.
But Star doesn't even flinch, which gave me a bit of respect for her. Like, now that I think about it, Star was just treating Kenny like any other pitcher. Perhaps I misjudged her. Kenny whines to get a substitute pitcher because his stamina's running really low.
Pitch. A swing. Liked it.
I could use a sub right about now.
But as his coach, I needed to push him to that next level and to send a message, and he actually strikes out Star here, even styling with the ball, dribbling it before throwing to first this inning too. So we enter the bottom of the 6th, still down 1-0, but I wouldn't want anyone to lead me off besides Pete Wheeler, who hits the pitcher in the face and dashes on base. Sally steps up 0 for 2, and wouldn't you know she actually rips a ball that just scrapes the top of the trees, almost being a walk-off home run. So here I just focus on sending Pete Wheeler all the way home while the outfielders struggle to pick up this ball. I don't know, maybe it got like some leaves or sap on it or something. Sally was only able to get a single here, but hey, we're not gonna lose at least. Pablo steps up to bat once again, and his walk-up music is genuinely so hype. Like, bottom of the 6th, runner on, hearing this theme is genuinely badass.
Sanchez steps in. Runner on first. Nobody out. Adios, big boy.
He might have grounded out, but you know, winning is temporary, style lasts forever. Now, the real backyard baseball goat, Keisha Phillips, steps up to the plate, taking a heater outside the strike zone for ball 1, and fastballs outside the zone for balls 2 and 3. The pitcher, Nam Porter, bravely or foolishly throws a ball right down the middle to avoid the walk, and my eyes got so wide here, I just straight up missed. Strike 2's just a good inside pitch, but with 2 strikes, Keisha squares up.
Shake her up.
And the count is 3-2. Here's the windup, a 3-2 pitch. And drove it to deep left. It is back, way back, out of the ballpark. A home run!
Aloha means goodbye.
She launches the ball so far out of the park, it lands in the pool. I don't know if this is Ernie's pool, maybe it's his next door neighbor's, but either way, there's a soggy walk-off home run at the bottom of it someone should really go get. So that's how the first game of the Red Sox season went. Yes, I nearly lost to the computer, but this game's harder than it looks. Though I low-key think 7-year-old me would beat current me in this game. There's a lot of hidden stats in backyard baseball I really appreciate, but at the end of the day, it'll always be good, simple fun that reminds me of my love for baseball in its purest form. Concussing multiple kids in your backyard while no one ever stops talking. I wanted to give a quick thanks to my Patreon and Ko-fi supporters, Buggy, Luca17, James Bond 3W, Jeffrey R, Lycosaur Thumb, Jakira, Looter, Richard M, Jack C, Flinley, and Paul 8. Thanks so much for watching, and if you're interested in trying out Raid, you can support me by using my link below. Alright, I'll talk to you next week. Bye.